Hi, I'm Virginie Likens from Roland Designs, and today I wanted to answer a few questions I've received from some of you. Last week I got a message from a lady that had noticed that I had a pattern that resembled a lot a pattern another seller had, and she was wondering, she was very polite about it, but she was wondering a little bit about it. So I wrote back and explained to her about copyright and public domain, and I thought maybe there's others of you that have the same questions. Copyright is very important to respect, and the ones of us who do reproductions of antique patterns, the antique patterns, anything that's over 100 years old, is pretty much safe that it's in the public domain. But what about other people that have identical patterns? For example, this is one I'm working on right now. It's a Berlin woolwork pattern, and it was a supplement in a magazine printed in 1873. I'm not the only one who has this copy. There might not be so many copies around, but somebody else might have a similar copy, and they might also make a reproduction of it and sell a digital file of the pattern. So who technically owns it? Nobody actually owns the original. It is in the public domain because of its age, but the reproduction of it, my reproduction of it or the other person's reproduction, is their property, and that needs to be respected. You cannot share or sell or profit in any way from a reproduction of an artist in many ways who takes time to work on these patterns and to make them as digital versions. So many people, they put a copyright sign on their work, and that needs to be respected. And for Roland Designs, every single pattern or chart that I make available, I actually own a copy. And if there's ever questions, I can produce and send a picture, or somebody can come and check out my collection. I will never sell a pattern that I have recharted from a picture I've picked up on the internet or scanned someplace, public library or so on, because I do believe in respecting ownership. And every single one of my patterns, like I said, I have a hard copy of it in my collection. I have been actually careful about posting good quality photos online, because I have seen people taken my pictures and reuse them for their own purposes. And if you see someone or another seller who sells my patterns, do let me know, because there is of course copyright issues if they are using my reproduction. But if they're selling their own reproduction from an item they own, then it's perfectly legal, and you might find two different versions of similar patterns online, and that will happen more and more as more and more items go into the public domain. Another question I get asked often is, can I sell items made from your patterns? And the answer is of course. All of the patterns I have take so long to make that I don't think anyone's going to be making a fortune sewing or selling items from my patterns. But I do appreciate if you work from one of my patterns and you sell it, that you add a little note on it that you found it on rolanddesigns.com. That would make me very happy, and of course it will also maybe make other people want to try out stitching some of these patterns. And one last small question that I'm asked, not often, but people do get curious: do you make money selling patterns online? And the answer is not really. I make enough by selling patterns to pay for the website, pay the Etsy fees and those things and supplies. But there's, at the end of the month, there really isn't much of a profit. And anything I do make on Roland Designs, I invested back into adding to the collection. A reproduction of a pattern actually costs more than just the time it takes to make it. There's the original investment in buying the item, there's the equipment, computer and software. I have to buy cross-stitch software, and there is the time. Even a pattern that's pretty straightforward like this will take me quite a few hours. Actually, when I worked on this one here, I found out that there was something that not aligned. So even with my modern software, I spent quite a bit of time adjusting it and making it fit just perfect. So when you see a pattern being sold for a couple of dollars on the internet and you see the person maybe sells a lot of patterns, you think they might be making a bit of a profit, but actually the reality is very little, because the hours I put into reproducing these patterns is quite substantial. Samplers can take actually a long time to reproduce, and I would have to sell thousands and thousands of each pattern to actually make it turn out, to make a job out of it, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. The reason I don't put a very high price on my patterns is because I want to make them available to you, the stitchers and the people who enjoy reproducing antique patterns. It's a bit of a labor of love, and it's my way of preserving these old patterns. I'm very lucky to be able to have a collection and to reproduce them for you, and I hope you enjoy stitching them.